Hey y'all, I'm Paul Bonzer and this is the first in a series of videos where I'm going to be working on projects out of my shop. I'm still getting my setup out here figured out a little bit, so future videos should be a bit smoother than this one. So I'm working on this workbench, doing the legs right now. Since I'm building this with a bunch of reclaimed lumber, I need to fill in all these cracks. So I've been using some of this two-part epoxy resin to do that. Just coming back out after doing some of this yesterday and taking a look at what the current state of things is. What I'm going to do is turn some of these and fill some of the other sides first, since I'm going to plane some of these down anyway to match each other. Just had some masking tape over any of the spots where I thought it might leak out the sides or the bottom in some of these cases. That's good, because right here it definitely was leaking out where this knot is. That saved me from a lot more cleanup in the future. So for two of these legs I'm using these 4x4s, which are actually old fence posts. I didn't quite have enough of that to do all four legs, so I'm using some boards also from that same fence, but I also sandwiched another piece of fence slat in the center so that it would approximately match the size of the actual fence posts. So now that I've figured out what sides I'm going to be filling with resin this time, I just got to put a little more tape on here for some of these spots where I can see it's going to leak out the edges if I don't, and then it's time to start doing some resin. I had to turn the AC off because it's just way too much noise. I've just got a little window unit in here. These are pretty much essential when working with this resin. It's a mess. It gets everywhere. There's no getting around that. So got my resin cup and my hardener cup, and then I have this other cup that I pour them into. If you don't get the amounts equal, and if you don't stir it enough, this stuff gets so sticky, and then you just have to wait for it to cure or scrape it off and start over again. You know, it's supposed to be cured in a few days, fully cured in a few days. It's usually 24 hours is enough to get it handleable and machinable or whatnot. If you screw it up, it can go for weeks without fully curing. Pour this over here so I don't spill the raw materials on my wood. And the always exciting many minutes of stirring this until it's fully mixed. Because again, if you don't spend at least 3 minutes mixing this, it's gonna not cure up as fast as you want, or ever. Not the most exciting part right here. Alright, that's probably good. It seems to want to go for about 10 minutes and then turn on, so I figure don't let it go that long. Kind of a problem with rubber gloves. Hopefully I didn't just get resin all over the inside of the gloves. Alright, now comes the fun part. This wood absorbs a surprising amount of this resin, which I suppose is good. It's kind of accomplishing my goal of reinforcing this wood, which was, it's been sitting outside, exposed to the elements for a while, cracked and whatnot. And I know I could just go get new pieces of wood instead of using this stuff, but I have it, and bench top is already made out of old thin slats, so I figure I'll continue with the theme rather than having a bunch of old wood sitting on top of a bunch of brand new wood. Plus I don't have to feel bad if I screw it up horribly somewhere in the process. No, I won't feel too bad. I'll feel a little bad, but just wasting time, not money at least. And I'll be learning something, what not to do at least. So, not even fully wasting time. All these old screw holes are a real pain in these things because it's hard to get the resin to just kind of flow down one side without forming a bubble down in the hole. And that air can either get trapped or, more likely, put it there, leave it overnight, and then come back and, oh, there's still a hole there. I think it also soaks down along with the grain. So a lot of these I'll do one layer and then just let it harden, and then when I come back and fill it in, the resin doesn't have anywhere to flow because the previous resin has actually hardened up and sealed off all the grain. I kind of want to put as much as possible in to start with so I can actually get it penetrating in there, and like I said, making this old cracked wood a lot more sturdy than what it currently is. Kind of has this nice inlay effect, except if you're more natural looking with the cracks and all that. I mean, those knots are going to want to fall out, especially if I'm cutting and happen to be cutting a mortise or something through some of these. Good to get this in around those, permanently fix them in place. So right now I've got to lean over so far so I can see what I'm doing, you know, particularly well, and not be holding everything way up above. Not exactly a fun position for my back to be in. I could probably prop these up on something, but it's too late now. I've already started. Yeah, when you have these cracks and it's nice and dark in there, this is just clear resin I'm using. It turns surprisingly dark because there's no light being able to reflect out. Got that aged look from literally being aged. You know, it kind of enhances that rather than just covering it up and whatnot. Some of these places you can't even really tell that you used resin after the fact, like with the knots and stuff. It just kind of blends in and looks like it's part of the knots themselves. Kind of a neat effect. Strengthening them without just removing them or fully covering them up. Did a pretty quick glue up on these laminated legs. And they're definitely showing it in a lot of places where it's not a super tight joint. Attempting to make up for that by filling them with this epoxy so it'll strengthen the joint, hopefully, and just not have big visible voids all over the place. Just gotta keep going back and adding more. That's one batch down. Maybe let that seep in for a little bit. Do another batch. Take a break, take these gloves off for a minute. Well, I got another batch of the resin poured over this, and I think I'm going to call that good for the night. I'm going to have to plane this down anyway, so we'll see how far those holes still go after I'm done with that, and I can always clean it up or add a little more later if I need to. Maybe I won't need to. I've got plenty more projects to do in here, not just this workbench that I'm working on. Get some good videos of some of those processes as I'm doing the things. Thanks for checking it out, and see you next time. This is my tripod that I put together to hold my phone to film this. It works well enough for now. I'll, you know, throw something else together when I inevitably get annoyed with how this kind of covers up half the screen. And also, since I mentioned the workbench, this is the top right now. You can kind of see what's going on here. It's a bunch of laminated layers, filling some holes with epoxy. Similar story, where I did an extremely bad job of laminating some of these extra pieces. Yeah, I had to cheat and put some 2x4 chunks on the back just to give this a little more thickness. Just with the width, I ended up with these slats. Thickness, you know, just wasn't good enough for the bench top that I wanted. So I added a whole line of 2x4s. Again, more resin and whatnot. Those are all laminated together and glued down to the slab as it is. And that makes for a nice, thick, sturdy, you know, 3¼ inches thick now. And, you know, there'll be more on that in the future as I put this thing together. Thanks for watching, and catch you next time.